Engine. Today I'm sitting down with Mike, and we're talking about his game Bearnard. First of all, introduce yourself, where you're from, your background in game development.
I'm Mike. So in Polish language, it will be Michał. My whole career is wrapped around programming. So I've been doing it for commercially for almost 20 years now. Bearnard is my passion project.
You said you've done programming for a number of years. What type of programming were you doing?
Mainly backend stuff, some front end. At some point, I was a full stack developer.
Because you're using the Godot engine. Are you
Yes.
using C# or using GDScript?
I know C# very well because it was my primary language for many years. I decided that I will go with GDScript because it was much faster. I mean, the feedback loop from programming something and checking the result was much faster.
What sort of got you interested in game development?
I always wanted to make a game. It was like from the very beginning. I got my first computer, was Commodore 64.
Yeah.
It was in the 90s.
Mhm.
So I was a really young boy, had a
Old
computer, old
Yeah.
school, yeah, and started programming at some point. I started with BASIC, then did some
Mhm.
assembler. From that point, it was like self-taught programming geek, I would say. I started with Unreal Engine 4, and I started to prototype my first game, and I was beaten. It was too
Okay.
difficult for me to grasp everything.
The game that you've made, it's going to be released soon, Bearnard.
Mhm.
Did you start working on that before you thought about the Godot engine?
I was looking for something to make my game, and I stumbled upon Godot. I immediately fell in love. I had everything I needed. Engine itself was fast.
Because I had
Yeah.
the same experience. I was
Mhm.
in Unreal, and
Mhm.
you open it up, and if you haven't opened it up for a while, you got to
Yep.
compile everything. Well, not everything, but the
Yep.
shaders at least. And
Yep.
yeah, like go get a coffee and grab a snack because it can take a hot
Even
minute.
if you have super beefy PC,
Yeah.
you need to wait.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about Bearnard. It's sort of an interesting mix of genres. What's with the bear and the bow and arrow? In fact, I think you've even got him behind you, right?
Yep. He's over there. if you can see it. Bearnard wasn't even present when I started working on my game. I wanted to have a game which was turn-based. I'm really inspired by Slay the Spire. I wanted to have cards, and I wanted to have physics.
I like that you said that you had these like mechanics that you like. You wanted the
Yes.
physics and you wanted the cards. For people that are listening or watching, especially if you're starting out in game development, it can be really difficult to pinpoint what is the foundation of what I'm making.
Yeah, and at some point, I was really scared. And I was scared to the point that, okay, I'm doing something so stupid that no one wants to do because they already know that it's impossible or not fun to play.
Yeah.
Or I'm doing something really, I don't know, innovative. At the same time, I always try to remember myself that this is my passion project. And I wanted this game. I really like playing it. So if there are more people like me who will enjoy playing these mechanics and this gameplay, I'm okay with that.
I'm with you. Like Slay the Spire was one of my
Mhm.
favorite games when
Yeah.
it came out. And
I
in
bought it on
fact,
3 platforms.
there you go. Like it's like Stardew Valley. You got to buy it like 6 times.
Of course.
And but yeah, that strategic element of games plus the physics, I think that's a really smart idea. So when you were developing this, what sort of difficulties did you have with combining those two genres?
That's a funny story because I have a bunch of friends and we play tabletop games and we meet one another like every 3 months, 6 months, something like that. So there are 6 people. And
Mhm.
every time we met, I brought Bearnard.
What did those first prototypes look like?
Yeah, of course, a lot of gray boxing at the very beginning because it's a natural process. I wanted this game to look like a game, not the prototype constantly. So this graphic evolved a lot, and at some point, I wanted to make everything by myself. From the very beginning, I assumed that I would make this game totally alone. Yeah, life verified it. in a brutal way.
What was that experience like for you to work through this and make this game pretty much,
Um,
on your own?
when I had a kind of idea and I started the prototype, I left my job. I quit my job, so I did it like full time for the first year. For me, it was super easy because I was experienced enough as a programmer, as a developer. So I didn't have any technical difficulty. So all of came after that was even more difficult because
Mm.
I had to have graphics. I had to have music, all of sound effects and stuff like that. Level design for me as as a game dev
Yeah.
programmer is the toughest part.
It seems like you really enjoy the coding part
Oh yeah,
and
of course. Yeah,
the design of that. And
yeah.
so when you reach the parts of the game that weren't your favorite part, how did you deal with that?
So I started making animations, like drawing Bearnard in A Sprite,
Mhm.
and I was pretty sure that I would do it, and I couldn't. I wanted to make it so much that I wanted to spend every minute to learn pixel art, to learn shading, to learn animations. And I at that time I realized that I lack uh, a lot of foundations of graphics, and I realized that I would need to spend like another 2-3 years just to do good animations. This is the moment I need to cooperate with someone.
You had mentioned something about the movement system that you were really proud of
Hmm.
that. So I'd
Yep.
love to hear a little bit about that, maybe even see some of the coding logic that you put together and
So this is the free mode. Bernard goes here and there. So
yeah.
whenever I come close, too close, he starts to, recognizing me, and the game is now in turn-based combat. It's a big graph of potential points, of potential places where we can go and where enemies can go.
It's cool to see the your sort of debug level because I don't know that everyone like knows that that's a thing. Like, so this is your
Mhm.
level to test things, and you can like play God mode, I assume, to add
Yep,
enemies
yep,
and
yep.
adjust
This is
things.
the
So
yeah, this is the testing mode. I would say the testing level. So whenever I spawn something, let's for example have this mushroom, he will be able to reach me. So you will see all of the nodes that are possible to stand on. This
mhm.
is the grid which we are able to move on. I can show you pretty much every level. Maybe one from the demo.
So
Yeah.
for people who are, pretty fresh, like you had to code your own debug system. So all those menus and those UIs, like
Yes.
you had to make those
Yes.
as well. That's like an
It's
additional part of the game.
it's crucial stuff for every game, I would say. I have, for example, this screen where I can add gold, add keys, experience
Mhm.
points. It's a very good practice, a very good habit, I would say, to think about these things at the very beginning, because at some point when your game is complex enough, it's really hard to implement it into the game.
Like how do you change levels? Is there
Um,
something that you could show for that?
I have kind of abstractions for that. So this is my main class, like the top node, I would say, the
Right.
initializing node. And here I got the common settings panel. I got node, which is a current scene. This is
Mhm.
I would say, heart of the whole system where the first scene is loaded into. Yes.
Can you show one of maybe the because it looked like you had actual level scenes.
Hmm. So this is the level of the
So
game.
it's based on that base scene, that base
Yes.
level. You have all
Yes.
of those elements in there, except now they're filled out, right?
Yep, yep, exactly. So you see the tile map here. You see some apples to be shot. So all of these are interactables. Here is a trampoline, and I also have this debug line just for me, just for the editor to
Uh-huh.
see how high I will jump when I shoot the lever. So whenever I use the lever, I will go exactly at the height
Yeah.
of the script here.
Piece of advice that you would give to someone who is, working on a game that they might want to sell, or even just any sort of marketing advice
Mhm.
from your point of view?
Okay, you don't need to cooperate with marketing agencies because they cost a lot of money,
Mhm.
but you need to think about marketing. If you want to do it by yourself, it's still doable, but you need to like be very conscious that it takes a lot of time to make social media, to create videos for promoting the game. You can have the greatest game, but if no one knows about it, no one will buy it.
Let's say you had Bernard, you had Bernard, it was done. Like you didn't have to worry anything about the code. It was perfect, but you
Mhm.
hadn't done any marketing yet. What would be the first thing you would do?
Turning point for me, it was starting cooperation with Jan,
Mhm.
who is my marketing guy, just to start cooperating with someone who knows his job.
This idea of like you could be making a game on your own
Mhm.
predominantly, but at the same like don't live in a bubble.
One of the greatest things that I experienced with Bearnard was showing it to the public on PGA. PGA is a local gaming event in Poland, because feedback which I got from random people playing my game was it was invaluable. The best possible mechanics that you've invented in your game, and you can see people breaking it like into pieces.
It's like that.
It tells you a lot about your skills, and it's a humble, I would say, experience for any developer.
Did you have a piece of feedback where you just like, wow, yeah, like that makes it like worth it?
Yeah, and I realized that people want to play Bernard in a different way than I designed it, because I designed this game to be super hard. I had the demo build for this whole event, because the event took like 3 days. First day, I had a demo version with really strong opponents. Like the mushroom had 6 or 7 health points, but on the very first night, I nerfed this mushroom. And on Saturday, the next day, when the event continued, it was a totally different reception of the game, because the
Yeah.
game was like easier for these people.
It's an additional skill and a job that people don't think about because you can
Yeah.
code and do the art and you can market and you can do all those things. But at the end of the day, like someone is going to interact with your game and you need
Yes.
to understand on some level the psychology of learning of,
Hmm.
you know, someone failing and how much can they fail before they feel too frustrated and think, wow, this game sucks, you know?
Sure.
So there's a psychology of the gamer, the player that you need to understand. And then even
Hmm.
more so, how you structure the learning process, the difficulty of your game.
For Bernard, the tutorial was the most iterating piece of the whole game. I needed to have a perfect tutorial, or almost perfect tutorial, to learn to teach people play and interact with the bow. Bow is quite difficult at the very beginning, especially for
Mhm,
people who are not used to physics. And
mhm.
I saw people struggling with the bow because the tutorial wasn't good enough. And at some point, I added some tiny details, like just tiny hints for players. And after several months, it was obvious for me that, okay, yeah, I did a good job on this tutorial.
I always feel like Nintendo does a really good job. Connotation of, well, it's they're more kiddie because they're really, you know, spoon feeding you stuff. They make it feel like it's easy and then they ramp it up. You don't even
Yep,
notice.
I remember playing Donkey Kong on Switch several years ago. It was the top
Oh, that was the
frustrating
remake,
experience
wasn't
for
it?
me.
That was
Yeah.
the remake. Well, that's back when they didn't care. They just made it hard.
Yep, yep. If I was a kid or someone like 10 years old, I would cry.
Well, not
I
you couldn't even save the game. You died.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Try again tomorrow.
I'm really big fan of Souls likes game like Elden Ring and Souls stuff, and
Yeah.
I feel safer in these games.
Are you going to put a permadeath option in Bernard?
I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about it, but if there are enough voices from the audience, from the community, that this mode would be
Permadeath.
cool,
Yeah.
I think I can add it. It's a good material for a DLC, even
My
the free
read on
one.
you is you probably want to edit. That's my read.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got a demo out so people can check it out.
Yes.
And then it's releasing on what day?
It's on Monday, so 12th of August. It's Monday.
12th of August. Even just building the game and having be published and finished. Yeah, congrats to you on creating this really cool experience. And I'm sure people are going to love it.
Thank you.